Only a few months ago, I opened my email to find an acceptance letter to Northeastern University and an invitation to embark on a journey called the NUN program. Although scared and confused at first, all of my doubts and hesitations soon turned into excitement as I discovered all of the amazing possibilities that I could choose from. After a few weeks of deliberation and intense research, I decided to travel to Ireland to study at UCD for my first semester of college. Fast forward a few months, I had a week before my flight and it was time to start packing. Thankfully, I had the full support of my friends and family throughout the entire process. On September 3rd, I got in the car with my parents and we drove to JFK Airport. I was sad to say goodbye to everything that was so familiar, but I was excited to see what the rest of my life had in store. At the airport, I met up with friends who I had met at pre-departure orientation and got to catch up with them for a few hours at the gate. After a short 5-hour flight, we arrived in Dublin and began our journey. I even got to be blessed with well wishes from Chloe Grace Moretz.
Enjoy your time in Ireland.
At first, it took a little while to get used to everything new. The weather, the culture, even living alone and cooking for myself for the first time. But it didn't take long to settle into this amazing country. Within the first few weeks, I got to discover the Dublin city centre with friends, find new places to eat, go on a beautiful hike to Glendalough, nearly faint from the very intense 12-mile hike, and even attend a Rosh Hashanah dinner at a small synagogue in Dublin. One of my favorite things about the NUN program was all of the excursions we got to go on. The very first one was our trip to Causey Farm, where we learned to bake soda bread, play Irish instruments, learn Irish dancing, and even jump into a bog. A few weeks later, we got to visit the Aran Islands, where we biked 4 miles to the top of a 300-foot cliff, and the day after that we saw the Cliffs of Moher. Our last weekend excursion was a trip to the Northern Ireland, where we got to learn about its rich history and visit sites such as the Titanic Museum and Giant's Causeway. These trips were not only rare chances to see things that I've never seen in my life, but they also led to amazing friendships and led me to meet lots of new people. Another way I met people was through my service learning. I was placed to work with an organization called Falta Refugees, which is a student-led campaign to push for acceptance of refugees into Irish communities. I was put in charge of the social media campaign, in which I had to write daily posts on the Twitter and Facebook pages. Throughout my work with the organization, I learned a lot about the refugee crisis and about my own interests. It was one of the most inspiring jobs I've ever had, and I felt very lucky to have a big role in such an important organization.
Press human race! Press human race! Press human race!
My community service was complemented by the Global Experience class run by Northeastern, where we reflected on our personal experiences and our roles as global citizens. I also got to take classes like biology and chemistry alongside Irish students, and I learned about the Irish presence in America in an NUN-specific course. In addition to taking classes, I also got to enjoy all of the amazing things our campus had to offer, like our lovely quad, the beautiful lakes, and the weekly food tents. Besides all of the great experiences I had in Dublin, I was also lucky enough to be able to travel to other countries and see the world. I got to visit my family in Israel, go to the top of the Eiffel Tower with friends in Paris, and even meet up with one of my best friends from high school in Copenhagen. I would have never thought that I would be doing any of this as a freshman in college, and I could truly not be happier with my choice to do this program. One of the biggest lessons I learned this semester was not to fear the unknown. This applies to all aspects of life, whether it be people, places, or new experiences. As a person who has always been scared of change and avoided it at all costs, I now know how rewarding it can be to do something completely out of my comfort zone. After this semester, I feel more prepared to travel alone, live in another country, and generally just take care of myself as an adult. I am very thankful for having been offered this opportunity and for the support I had from my family and friends to actually do it. If I could offer one piece of advice to incoming freshmen, I would say appreciate all of what your life has to offer, especially the things you haven't discovered yet. Oh, and don't tape things onto your wall. You'll rip the paint off.